In this tutorial, we will create and configure our MariaDB charity database by using the installed MariaDB command line tools. We will also learn how to connect to this database that we have just created within the IntelliJ IDE. For my YouTube students, this slideshow is part of a YouTube playlist. A link to the playlist will be listed in the description of this lesson. All source code for this playlist will be available for free in a GitHub repository. These are the high-level steps. First, we will create the charity database using the MariaDB command line client. Once we have the database created, we will create an application user with full privileges on our created charity database. And then we will check out our POM Root project that we've previously created in GitHub. And in this project, we will set up a database connection within IntelliJ using the application user that we've created from the command line so that we can access the database from within IntelliJ. And then finally, we will create a new module, and this will be our first module inside the parent POM, and we will use this to connect to and set up and populate our charity database in our next series of tutorials. Now that we have MariaDB downloaded and installed with a root username and password, we are going to start with setting up our charity database that we will use in our application. So we will go to Windows Start, select MariaDB, select the MySQL client in MariaDB. It asks us to enter the password. And now we are going to create the charity database. In case I have created it, I am going to drop the database. All right, now I will create the database. Now we can make sure that the database has in fact been created. Show databases, and there we see our charity DB at the top of the list. Now we are going to create a database user for our application to access this database. And in case I've created it before, I will first drop it. All right, now I will create it. I've created a user and gave it a password. So let's make sure the user is set up, showing all the users and our newly created user at the bottom of the list. Now we've got to enable all access privileges for our user on our charity database so that our application can insert and update data. Now we flush the user privileges. And let's look at all the access privileges for our user now. And that looks good. Our user has all access to our created database. And that means we now have a charity database and a charity user that can access this database. So now we are ready to move into IntelliJ and set up data access for our application. Moving on to IntelliJ now, and we are going to check out our branch to start the MariaDB setup in IntelliJ. This is the location of our branch, so we will select the project, Git branches, and check out. Or we can also do import from version control. Now the next step is to set up the database connection using the user that we've created in our script. So we will select View Tool Windows Database and create a new MariaDB data source. Use our created user and password. Test the connection. That looks good. Test the connection again. That looks good. Select apply and OK. And we set MariaDB as our default SQL dialect. And here we see we have access to the charity database. So we will be able to create scripts and run it. And in order to do that, we will need a dedicated submodule of our POM Root project. So we'll create a new module. Our artifact coordinates looks good. And we will add our new module to Git. And that is it. Now we are ready to create the database scripts and insert it in this newly created module. And that completes this tutorial.